tell me a little bit more about that billboard? I mean, it couldn't be simpler. I
Mm.
heart J.K. Rowling, and frankly, an enormous number of people do. They love her creativity, the sort of fictional fantasy world. There are people for whom the Harry Potter series is almost like a cult obsession. It's like some people used to feel the same way about Star Trek, like that's a code for
Yeah.
living or something. Like she is deeply loved, and those books have an uncanny hold on, I'd say, a whole generation. Um, Imagine throwing her out and not being able to say I love J.K. Rowling because she's a feminist.
hmm It's shocking, and that's why I wanted to get involved in this in the first place, is because there's a public conversation to be had about gender identity ideology, and the fact that if you put up something as innocuous as an I Heart J.K. Rowling billboard, and then it causes the city council in Vancouver to accuse you of hate speech, it causes you to get tens of thousands of hateful and abusive messages and threats. I think that has the effect of showing a lot of people how toxic this debate actually is. So that was what I wanted. I wanted to start conversations. And then what ended up happening was that got a lot of attention, and some members of the public complained to the nursing college, which gives me my license to practice as a nurse. These people found out what I did for a living, and they're trying to cancel me and take away my career because they disagree with my politics. And so, to be clear, 100% of this investigation and upcoming disciplinary hearing is about what I do outside of work. I've never had a patient complaint ever. It's 100% about thought crimes that I've allegedly committed.
Yeah, I mean, I have trouble even processing it. By the way, our friends at the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom, that's John Carpay's Civil Liberties Group, are helping Amy, and I couldn't be more proud of them for rising to the occasion to stand for freedom of thought. I believe there should be professional ethics governing professions like doctors and nurses and lawyers and engineers. There's elements of public safety. When you say you're a doctor or a nurse, that implies you have certain credentials. I think that's wise. And I think that doctors or nurses who engage in medical malpractice should be investigated. We saw that abused a bit during the pandemic, quite a bit. Anyone who had a dissident opinion on the virus was investigated for really political
Mm-hmm.
crimes. But what you said wasn't even touching on health at all. You know, when they investigate Dr. Roger Hodgkinson for his views on the coronavirus, well, at least you could say that's within the realm of medical stuff. But you were
Mm-hmm.
giving a I love J.K. Rowling poster has nothing to do with your job with the profession of nursing. You are a nurse, and they were coming at you through your profession for a completely unrelated matter, your political matter.
Yeah, so they investigated for a long time. They compiled a report, more than 330 pages of tweets, articles that I've written, because this is a topic that I've been writing about and talking about and organizing events about for quite some time. So they they compiled this evidence of my apparent wrongdoing, and kind of the latest thing that has happened a few days ago, the Justice Center issued a press release because I had been accused of spreading medically inaccurate information, and now the college has dropped that charge. So kind of the only remaining charge against me right now is that I've said derogatory or discriminatory things about trans people, which I haven't. I completely disagree. It's bogus. But I do feel partially vindicated that they're no longer saying that I've said anything medically inaccurate.
So the medical inaccurate part, that was they started combing through your political comments. So it was the big billboard was maybe the spark that
It was the spark.
they said, here's a dissenter. We've got to
Mhm.
crush her, destroy her, demoralize her, tire her out, burn up her money, burn up her time, put the fear of God in her, make her regret this,
Mhm.
and pour encourager les autres, to let everyone else know you stand up to us and we will make your life hell. I'm guessing that's what this was all about.
Yeah, I absolutely feel like I'm just being made an example of. Meanwhile, the complainants, I know the identity of one of them. It's someone I've never met before. I've never encountered this person, but describes themselves publicly as a Marxist and kind of a social justice warrior. The other person who complained about me, they've been awarded the privilege of being anonymous.
So you can't
Um,
face your accuser. You don't know who it
no.
is. So
And because they said I might retaliate, which is very insulting.
yeah, and if
Um,
that were to happen, let you be faced with whatever retaliation means. But the idea of facing your accuser, meeting your accuser, you don't know if it's someone who's had a personal vendetta. You don't know if it's someone who has a
mhm,
collateral motive. You don't know.
exactly.
It is contrary to our system that the accusation is secret. That's a star chamber. That is an un-Canadian uh, sham of that is not how justice is done in Canada or any of our judicial
No.
antecedents going back centuries.
Yeah, and obviously I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding of the legislation around anonymous complainants when you're talking about a healthcare regulatory body is that the reason sometimes people are allowed to be anonymous is when there's an issue of patient confidentiality that you're trying to not violate, or a patient's life could be endangered in some way. But from what I know, there's no reason that they should be allowed to apply this in my case. I feel that I should know who this person is.
What you just saw was an excerpt from my nightly show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every weekday, I do a monologue. Usually it's about half an hour. Then I interview an interesting guest, and then we read my hate mail or my fan mail, whichever is more fun. It's only available behind a paywall, though. That's how we pay our bills here at Rebel News. We don't take a dime from Justin Trudeau. But the good news is it's only $8 a month, about half the price of Netflix. And in addition to my nightly show, you also get weekly shows from 4 other friends here at Rebel News. So you're getting 36 shows a month just for $8. I think it's worth it. And even if you're not quite sure, do it anyways, because we rely on viewers like you to keep us free and independent. I promise you I'll never take a dime from Trudeau. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com and click subscribe. Thanks.